The really cool thing is that over the years, and Hillary and I have been doing this for 20 years, we've had so many patients that have come in and they are following, they're eating based on what they found out their blood type is. And our training didn't necessarily put a lot of weight into that. It was sort of like, nah, that there's something to it, but it doesn't totally make sense. So, there may be better ways to have people choose their diets and to guide patients with their diets. But what we have noticed over time is that it really works for some people, so we can't just dismiss it. So that's where we're coming from here, is that it seems a little too simple in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you find out your blood typing, you eat accordingly, and that's it. But the more Hillary and I have been doing genetic testing on people about their health, not genetic testing, for getting pregnant or for very specific things, but for general health, we have really discovered that the body comes with clues and we should really pay attention to those clues. So this is one of the big clues that we don't want you overlooking when you're looking for the ideal diet for yourself.
So this eating right for your blood type was popularized by a doctor that went to school where we went, called from Bastyr University, and he's had a long or had I don't even know if he's still in practice, but a long standing practice in New Hampshire, and was one of the first people that thought that he was seeing a big correlation between blood type and diets, and was really working on creating diets for people. And most of it is a theory that's one kind of about your ancestry and your lineage, like where you come from. And one thing that we have really seen as doctors is that we know if we have patients from Holland, they do much better with dairy products than our patients from Japan, or that our patients from Japan do better with rice and sometimes have less of a glycemic impact to the white rice than like people in the United States. So it's definitely, as we've practiced over the years, something that we've noticed these where you're from has a big impact on some of your diet. I'm sorry, I'm just kicking my dog because she has a hot spot and is eating. Okay, anyway, but so this is a lot around digestion and absorption and mineral absorption. And so sometimes when and Kara and I have seen this a lot, where we have patients eating well, or they're eating an anti-inflammatory diet, and yet they're still very low on really important nutrients that matter a lot from fertility to, you know, preventing dementia, kind of across the egg span, the lifespan. And that's the iron is low, the B12 can be low, that there's sometimes some people that have a really hard time with assimilating nutrients, and some people are very robust with vitamins or minerals, even though they're sometimes not even eating the best diet. And that's when we're always wondering, like, what are these nuances? Like, stress is a factor. And then COVID kind of really created some of these deficiencies. So we've been on a quest to try to figure out what are some of the different approaches to understanding inflammation in our bodies, inflammation in our GI tracts, that prevent potentially our absorption, or that keep us in our less, vibrant state, or having, if we're having infertility issues, or we're having hormone balance issues, or on and on and on.
Yes, and you just can't dismiss it. Some people follow their blood type diet and feel so much better. For some people, this might be the hidden thing that they just don't know about. So it's kind of worth exploring. Um, for me, I was a vegetarian for a really long time, and it was not a good diet for me. It's how I like to eat. It's ethically how I like to live, but it was not a good diet for me. I became extremely anemic, B12 deficient. I was not in a good place from that diet, which is unfortunate because I do prefer. But if I look at my blood type, which is O, that is definitely not advised. And if I do follow what that diet is, I do feel pretty good. So it's interesting to see that, even in me, and I think we use ourselves as an example often because you and I can't exactly eat the same way, the same
But
frequency, the same
but
amount, you know?
funnily enough, we were both blood type O's. This is the one thing where Kara and I, people who are in our community and they watch us a lot together, we have very different detox pathways. We have very different hormonal, conjugations, the way we deal with hormones. But the interesting thing is we both do very well on meat. And
Hmm.
when we both went to naturopathic medical school, both of us, we were both vegans and had been for a while. But I had infertility from the veganism was a big part of it for me, creating and driving more inflammation, more blood sugar issues since I have PCOS,
Hmm.
and really kind of pushing that amenorrhea because I had so much inflammation from the much higher. At that time, we were eating a lot of soy.
Hmm.
We made these like great quesadillas every time we studied that had like cut tofu and some vegetables, and they were on like whole wheat tortillas. And
There's a lot of carb, yeah.
we felt like, oh, we're doing so great. Meanwhile, my hair was falling out. I was struggling with energy. My iron, I was anemic. I couldn't quite figure out what was going on with me when I was eating so healthy. And I had been a vegan for maybe I became a vegan in college when I was introduced to like Diet for a New America and some of these things in college that really opened me up to animal rights issues and things that I had never thought about. So I'm like, Kara, like in my heart, I wanted to be a vegan, and yet my body was just saying no. And once I started to turn towards eating meat again, my inflammation really changed. And then the other really funny thing is one of the things about blood type O is that one of the most toxic food for blood type O is corn. So once we started our blood glucose program and we're all wearing our blood sugar monitors, Kara literally called me one day. She's looking at my information in the app, and she's like, what's going on with the corn? It was literally sending me like banana. My blood sugar was like full
Hmm.
diabetes. And she's
It
like,
doesn't do that to me, but I was like, whoa, are we going to start the metformin today? It was really higher blood sugar.
so in our own personal experiences, like it's true. It's so hard to like promote this. So because the science is a little iffy and it can be kind of broken down. But that said, there's so little, there's no harm to trying it. Like understanding your blood type is a no-brainer. It's no big deal. And the funny thing is it's something that so many people do not know. Like many,
Yeah,
many
it's good to
people
know
do
your
not
blood
know.
type anyway,
It's good
right?
to know. And we have it where you're just doing it with little kits, and they're at home test kits. It's
Yep.
fascinating how few of my patients actually know their blood type. It's
Right.
pretty funny. And it's just good to understand. And there's just no harm in trying it for yourself. So especially if you're somebody who's done one of our anti-inflammatory protocols or detoxes, or you've done detox diets and you feel like you get some result, but not everything changes, or you're just into biohacking, it's an interesting variable to see for you if you notice a difference in changing some of the things. I just want to read through the types. And type O is the hunter. So that's believed to be the oldest blood type. It's hunter-gathering societies, high protein diet, avoiding dairy, grains, and legumes. So it's a very paleo type diet. And we need generally very vigorous exercise with lots of weightlifting. So again, if you know the differences between Kara and I and how we've spoken over the years, like Kara doesn't love vigorous exercise quite as much as me, but like there's always going to be hormonal variations and other variations on top of this. You can't generalize humans to just these types. But
Right. But whereas you can't have the corn, I can't really have the potatoes. Do you know what I mean? And that's in here too. So it's interesting to we can pick from it. It's just another layer, like you said. It's a great thing. It's super inexpensive and it's just great to know what's your blood type and what foods might be appropriate for you. Because when I was eating that vegetarian diet, I mean, I ate uh, as a vegetarian diet, I ate a lot of lectins, which probably were inflammatory for me. So that's part of the understanding here, and we'll go through that more in the future. But I do think some people, it's like, oh, that's why. And so
And
it could be an
it
aha
is, I've had many patients who are blood type A.
moment.
And this is um, more it's more of an agricultural based diet, where it's plant-based, vegetarian, vegans, organic produce, avoiding meat, like that the meats actually cause inflammation for them. They like to be more gentle. They like yoga. They like Tai Chi, tofu, grains, legumes, like a macrobiotic diet, where some people just thrive with that diet. And macrobiotics was something that came out in like the 90s, the 80s,
70.
70s, and was a real anti-cancer diet. And again, like if Kara and I are fully macrobiotic by the all the principles, we probably wouldn't have our families. Like we needed way more iron, we needed more B12, we needed more things than the macrobiotic diet gave to offer. But the type A's have a pretty easy time. And I find that a lot of the type A's that I know, and obviously this is general, but they're the wispier people, they're quite wispy, and
Mhm.
they're quite sensitive to things. And so it's a really interesting thing that they tend to, I feel like, is almost the opposite of an O. B is the nomad. So this was linked more to nomadic tribes, and that's more of a true omnivore diet, plant and animal food. But this is avoiding chicken, corn, wheat, and tomatoes. So it's super interesting because there are patients that really feel inflamed by chicken. And we see it all the time where we're like, many people transition to eating chicken as their main meat because that was all the cholesterol data that was driving people to eating white meat instead of red meat. And some people got so inflamed, get so inflamed on the chicken as their main meat source, and actually do so much better with grass-fed
Right.
beef and lamb. It's just like really interesting and
It is interesting.
the AB type is pretty rare, but it's
Mhm.
combo, and that one is not eating red meat, corn, and kidney beans. So it's kind of a fun invitation, especially we've been running in our community an anti-inflammatory protocol, and people have been working hard. One of the things that is in the anti-inflammatory protocols, we're always trying to get people to eat more vegetables and eating the rainbow and eating more salads. Well, all the salad dressings I make have vinegar in them, but vinegar is kind of a no-no on the type O diet. So I was wanting to kind of, after our anti-inflammatory protocol, go into more of the specifics for the type O's and see what changes for me, what works, what doesn't work in this body in this day and age. So it's kind of interesting and fun, and let us know. We would love your feedback if you've eaten for your blood type, if you've ever thought about it. This
Mhm.
this work came out the blood type is in the 90s. So
Yep.
many of you may have heard of it, but missed it was quite a craze for a minute there,
Yes.
and poo-pooed by, of course, by the the powers that be in the big science, but many people in the offices, in doctors' offices, were saying that this is something that we believe in. And
That that's
old
why we're
people,
sitting here, right? Because I've just
yeah.
heard too many patients say that that made a difference for them. So I'd like to explore it more. It's interesting.
So we are excited to hear more if you've ever had an experience with it, write in and let us know. Kara, you could stop the recording.